ॐ गणानां त्वा गणपतिं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमं ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पतान् शृण्वन्नोतिभिः सीदसादनं श्रीमहागणाधिपतये नमः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। Dear friends, in the last class we completed the 17th mantra. एतदालम्बनं श्रेष्ठम् एतदालम्बनं परम् एतदालम्बनं ज्ञात्वा ब्रह्मलोके महीयते. So we had a discussion on this Omkara Upasana. About this Omkara Upasana, I told certain things which are contained in this Mandukya Upanishad and other places. And particularly for those who want to know more, you can go to one book called Vichara Sagara. Vichara Sagara by Sadhu Nischala Das. Sadhu Nischala Das, he wrote that book about 150 years ago in Hindi, and that is translated into Sanskrit, and that is also available on the net in English. So that book somebody can see, so that you will get more details about this Omkara Upasana. Now we have to get on to this 18th mantra. Did we read this Anyatra Dharma Ityadina, that Avatarika, did we complete or not yet? Avatarika, did we read? Anyatra Dharma Ityadina Prustasya Atmanaha? No. Where this Bhavati Ityarthaha, up to that point?
Yes.
Okay, let us read this Avatarika. Anyatra Dharma Ityadina
Anyatra Dharma Ityadina
Prustasya Atmanaha
Prustasya Atmanaha
Ashesha Vishesha Rahitasya
Ashesha Vishesha Rahitasya
Alambanattvena Pratikattvena cha
Alambanattvena Pratikattvena cha
Omkaro Nirdishtaha
Omkaro Nirdishtaha
Aparasya cha Brahmanaha
Aparasya cha Brahmanaha
Manda Madhyama Pratipatrun Prati
Manda
Madhyama Pratipatrun Prati
Manda Madhyama Pratipatrun Prati
Atha Idanim Tasya Omkaralambanasya Atmanas Sakshat Swarupa Nirdidharaishaya Idamuchyate. So this is the Avatarika for the next few shlokas, right up to the end of this Valli. So now the earlier question by Nachiketa was Anyatra Dharmat Anyatra Dharmat Anyatra Asmat Krota Krutat Anyacha Bhutacha Bhavyacha. So he was asking about what is it that is unaffected by Dharma, what is it that is unaffected by Adharma. Say by doing some righteous action you are not going to get anything. By doing a non-righteous action you are neither going to be get a demerit. So what is that stage where there is no question of Dharma, there is no question of Adharma, where this Dharma and Adharma they do not attain that thing? What is that thing? So he was asking. So Dharma, we know, Dharma is something, any karma. Dharma is actually a karma. It is any karma will produce some birth. Similarly, Adharma again also will produce some birth. So something beyond Dharma and beyond Adharma means something which is beyond birth and death. So he is asking for that entity which is untouched by all these things and which is beyond time, which beyond Karya Karana. Anyatra Asmat Kruta Krutat. Krutam is Karyam and Akrutam is Karanam. So this Karya Karana Sambandhat Virahitam, that is something which is beyond this cause effect matrix. Then again Anyacha Bhutacha Bhavyacha, something which is beyond time, this Bhuta Bhavishyat Vartamana, all these things, because time itself is a manifestation in that Maya. So what is that beyond all this? So that is what was the question. So Anyatra Dharma Ityadina Prustasya Atmanaha, of that Atman which has been asked by that question, Ashesha Vishesha Rahitasya, that is absolutely there is no Vishesha in that. Vishesha means there is no special perception. Suppose I see something, this is a Vishesha, this is called Vishesha Drushti. Suppose I don't see this, I see it as Chaitanyam only, that is Samanya Drushti. I just don't recognize a thing, I just don't see a thing as a thing, but I look at it as consciousness or as a manifestation in that consciousness. Suppose I have that drushti, that Vishesha drushti is gone. So Ashesha Vishesha Rahitasya, that thing where this Vishesha is not there. Vishesha is only an appearance, Vishesha is only a manifestation in that Chaitanya. So that is it. For that, Alambanattvena Pratikattvena cha Omkaraha Nirdishtaha. So that Alambana for some people and Pratika for some other people. So like that it was Nirdishtaha, means it was assigned or it was prescribed. That is for those who want to get that, understand that Parabrahma or the Supreme Brahman, that is an Alambanam. Pratika for those who want to get some puja, who want to get some benefit by doing some puja, etc. So he is a Madhyamadhikari, Manda Madhyamadhikari. So Manda Madhyamadhikari, Pratipatrun Prati. Pratipatrun Prati means Pratipatta, Pratipatru. Pratipatru is the person who is going to understand. He is called Pratipatru. Pratipatrun Prati. That is, that person who is, this is intended, this Omkara has been prescribed as an Alambana and also as a Pratika for Manda, Madhyama, Pratipatrun Prati. For those people who are of, say, middle level talent and much less talent, that is mediocre talent, middle level and mediocre talent. For those people of such understanding, this has been prescribed in that manner. Atha idanim tasya Omkarasya, Omkaralambanasya, Atmanaha Sakshat Swarupa Nirdidharishaya. So what exactly is the real essence of that thing which has been, which this Omkara is indicating? Omkara actually is indicating, it is an Alambana, it is a support. By holding that support, you are going ahead. You are going ahead and say understanding something. It is not as though you are attaining something new, you are understanding. By this Alambana, you are having a greater understanding of that reality. So what is that reality? Atha Alambanasya Atmanaha Sakshat Swarupa Nirdidharishaya. What is this Swarupa? Sakshat Swarupa. What exactly is the real nature or the real essence of that Atma? And what exactly is that Atma? So that is what is going to be told. So here we have to see, the mantra says Anyatra Dharmat, Anyatra Adharmat. So that is beyond Janma and Marana. So we know that there is something called God. We say, well, let us tentatively take that empirical God we talk about, that empirical God which is beyond something which is beyond birth, beyond death and whatnot, all these things. So suppose he says, in this thing, suppose he says, Najayate Mriyate va Kutaschit, that God anyway is Najayate Mriyate. God anyway, there is no need to say that God is something which has no birth, which has no death, and then which is not like the Nayam Kutaschit, he has not come from somewhere and then nothing is coming out from him. So all these things need not be told. Then who is it that is the subject matter here? The subject matter is yourself, you and me. The subject matter is you, that is the individual Atma or a Jivatma as we call it, the individual or the Jiva Atma. The Upanishad is telling about the Atma only. Atma means the self, the individual self. Here it is not about the Supreme Brahman. We should not think that it is about the Supreme Brahman. It is about the Jiva, and it is telling that you are that. So this is actually one point which is one thing which has been pointed out by Anandagiri, because he says that this origin and death, they just do not arise in the case of Brahman. So whom is this Upanishad referring to? So the Upanishad is basically referring to the Jiva, and then indirectly it is indicating that Jiva is nothing different from that Brahma. So that is what we have to see. That is the say perspective in which we have to see this say mantra. Let us read this mantra. Najayate mriyate va vipaschit.
Najayate mriyate va vipaschit.
Nayam kutaschinna babhuva kaschit.
Nayam kutaschinna babhuva kaschit.
Ajo nitya shashvatoyam purano.
Ajo nitya shashvatoyam purano.
Nahanyate hanyamane sharire.
Nahanyate hanyamane sharire.
So we have got a similar shloka in Gita also. Najayate mriyate va kadachinnayam bhutva bhavitavana bhuyah. So that we read. So something similar is here. Nayam bhutva bhavitavana bhuyah, that was the line there. But the same Najayate mriyate va, that Gita says kadachit, here it is vipashchit. Na ayam kotaschit na babhuva kaschit. Ajaha nityaha shashvatoyam purano na hanyate hanyamane sharire. This line is common here and there too. So this line we have seen in Gita too. Na jayate, that is, it is something which is not born. Na jayate means something which has no birth, it has no origination. Then na mriyateva, there is no end to that, there is no death. In ordinary sense, there is no death to that. To whom? To that vipashchit. Vipashchit is the important thing here. Vipashchit, he is the say subject here. What is vipashchit? Vipashchit is that intelligence. Vipashchit is that intelligent self. Viprakrustam chinoti iti vipashchit. That is how Akhandananda Saraswati notes in his book. Akhandananda Saraswati has written a commentary on this thing. He writes, Vipashchit is Viprakrustam Chinoti. That is that entity which sees everything, which means that which is behind everything. It is not as though I am seeing everything, means I am seeing this pen, I am seeing this cell phone, I am seeing this book, I am seeing that glass. It is not that I am seeing and then there is an object to be seen and whatnot. This is the very nature of sight itself. The very nature of intelligence, the very nature of intelligence, the very nature of the very substance of consciousness. The intelligence or consciousness, one and the same. So that itself is the consciousness. You are not. It is not as though you are seeing certain things. Seeing is different from being consciousness. So this is the consciousness which is behind everything, which is in which everything else is manifesting. So that is what is the nature of this self. So this vipashchit, viprakrustam, that is everything, everywhere. Prakrustam means in a very, unlimited manner. In a very unlimited way it is able to see. There is absolutely no end to its perception. So all perceptions are in it. All perceptions are located in it. Then, na ayam kutaschit, na babhuva kaschit. Na ayam kutaschid agataha. Ayam Atma, na kutaschid agataha. It has not come from somewhere. That means there is no origination for that. Kutaschit means from somewhere. Na ayam kutaschid agataha, na babhuva kaschit. It has not come from anything. It has not become anything. Na babhuva. Babhuva means it did not become. Babhuva means so and so became babhuva. X babhuva y means X became Y. So X Y babhuva means X became Y. So this babhuva does not arise in the case of this thing because consciousness is here, consciousness is there, consciousness is something which is everywhere. This intelligence is something which is there underlying everything. So it is not coming from somewhere and it is not going somewhere, it is not getting transformed into something else. So that is the point. It is not getting transformed into another entity. So this Akhandananda in his book, he also gives a good reasoning. Suppose we put a question. Who has created intelligence? Who has created intelligence? Normally when we don't know about it, we will say, okay, God has created intelligence. So God has created intelligence, let us assume. God has created this thing called consciousness or intelligence, whatever it is. If that is so, God was unintelligent before its creation. God himself was ajnani. He was in that ajnana before the commencement or creation of jnana. Strictly speaking, God himself was an ajnani, isn't it? God himself was in ajnana. How can somebody who does not have that jnana enough to create, how can he create jnana? So that means jnanam is something not created by God. Jnanam is something which is pre-existing. It is there by the time God is there. What we call God is there. Either that God itself is intelligence or this intelligence is something which is preceding that thing. So that is it. So that is one example. So he gives. So this jnanam is something which pre-exists, at least what we call this empirical God. Because jnanam cannot precede Brahman because jnanam itself is Brahma. That is how it is defined. Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, Brahma. So that is how Jnanam itself is Brahma. This is something which has no origin, which is pre-existing everything, and then that is the underlying principle in everything. So that is why it is said, Na jayate mriyateva kadachit. So all types of changes, they have been negated here. this what is called birth, death and all these changes, these are called vikaras. Shankaracharya is going to refer to that sarva vikriya, he is going to refer to that. All these vikaras are denied in this. Then na babhuva kaschit, it did not come from something and it did not become something. Then ajaha nityaha shashvataha ayam puranaha. Ajo nitya shashvatoyam purano, this line we saw in Gita. Ajaha, that is something which is not born. Or it also means it will not originate anything. Na ja. Na plus ja becomes aja, that nai samasa. Then what is it? It has no origin, it does not originate anything. It is not coming from somewhere and then it is not producing anything. Ajaha. Nityaha. Nityaha is something which is again eternal. Shashvataha. Shashvata also means it is not exactly eternal. Shashvata means that is again unchanging. Shashvat bhavaha shashvataha. Shashvat means always. Shashvat bhavaha shashvataha. Suppose you are, say in your say youth, let us say. So you suppose after 50 years also you are like this, without any change. That is shashvat bhavaha. Always it is like this, unchanging. So that means something where there is no decay. There is unchanging, no decay. So that is shashvataha. Ayam puranaha. Puranaha means purapi navaha. That is pura means old and also new. Purapi navaha. Though it is old, it is new. That means it is beyond time, it is timeless. Then na hanyate hanyamane sharire. This is something when the body falls off also. When even the body falls off, this is something which does not die. So this faculty called intelligence or consciousness, it is something which undergoes no vikara. It does not undergo any change. It is something which is pre-existing, what we call even the empirical God. It is nothing but that Brahman, and there is no change in this. So this is the overall meaning of this say mantra. Let us read the Bhashyam. Na jayate, na utpadyate, mriyate va, na mriyate cha. Okay, utpatti mato vastunaha anityasya aneka vikriyaha. So he says very clearly, he is explaining every word. Na jayate, na utpadyate. Na utpadyate means for which there is something, some sort of utpatti. Utpatti means something which is called origin. So this utpatti is something which is accepted. Say if we see this, say if we see other say schools of philosophy, what they say is, for example, Utpatti, for example, Bauddhas, they do not accept this origination of this Jivatma. They don't accept this origination of the Jivatma, but then they accept the destruction of this intelligence. They say this Kshanika Vijnanam. Jnanam is something which is, it is not something which is originated, but then that Uchcheda means that Vinasha. This Kshanika Vijnana, it dies. So this Utpatti, they don't agree, but then they agree with Vinasha. Then this Jains, their philosophy is that this Atma is something which is of the size of the body. Suppose you are in a human body. This Atma is of the human size. And then suppose you are in an ant's body. This Atma takes the shape of only that size. And then you go to transfer to the body of an elephant. So Atma becomes that size. So it is increasing and decreasing depending on the size of the say Janma, depending on the size of the say embodied being. So that is what they say. Then of course the other religions, for example the Western religions, they talk about the origin of the soul. They accept the origin of the soul as they call it. But then they don't agree. They don't agree about the death. Because they say that soul is something which is undying. Soul is somewhere in the purgatory till the day of judgment. So something like that they say. So then Vedanta says, Vedanta's contention is this thing called Atma is neither born nor it dies. It is never born, it never dies, it is always there. What dies or takes birth is the body. What exactly is the thing which is dying or taking birth? That is the body. So that is what the Vedanta says. Na jayate, na utpadyate, mriyate va, na mriyate cha. Utpatti mataha vastunaha anityasya aneka vikriyaha. So whatever is born, whatever is utpattiman, utpatti mataha means that which is having say utpatti is utpattiman. Utpatti mataha is Shashti Vibhakti for that Utpattiman. So Utpatti mataha vastunaha, for that object which has that Utpatti or origination. And what is that? It is an anitya. It is an anitya vastu. It is an unreal, no, not exactly unreal. It is a something which is impermanent. So for that impermanent thing, there are aneka vikriya. Vikriya is that change which comes, say, from within. That is, there are changes. There are changes are of two types. Change is some natural change which comes within a body. For example, what are the 6 vikriyas? We talked about that in Gita Bhashyam also. Something it is born, something which is seen, jayate, asti, it comes into existence. Then vardhate, it grows. Then viparinamate, it undergoes some change. Then again slowly it decays, apakshiyate. Then again it vinashyati, it disappears. So these are the 6 bhava vikaras. Bhava means any substance, any being. This bhava means a being. These are the changes. These are called the vikaras or vikriyas. Vikara is something which is a natural change which undergoes. Then there can be another change which is brought about by breaking. Suppose you take a pot and then break it. That is by a karya. That is not called vikara. That is something which is done by a human being or by an external force. So that is, this bhava vikaras are there for everything that is born. So that is the point here. Aneka vikriyaha. Tasam adyante janma vinasha lakshane vikriye iha atmani pratishiddhyete. So tasam means among those bhava vikaras, out of those bhava vikaras, Adyante, the first one and the last one, that is Janma and the Maranam, Jayate and also Mriyate. Those two things, in between things are not mentioned because there is no need to mention. When the first thing and last thing are not there, the in between things are also not there. So, Adyante, Janma Vinasha Lakshane Vikriye. This Janma Lakshana and Vinasha Lakshana Vikriya, these two things, Iha Atmani Pratishiddhyete. In this Atma, they are negated. They are being rejected or they are not being accepted. They are being negated in the case of Atman. Pratishedha means negation. They are being negated in the case of an Atman. Prathamam sarva vikriya pratishedhartham na jayate mriyate va iti. So up to this point is the complete sentence. Pratishiddhyete prathamam sarva vikriya pratishedhartham. In order to negate all other changes, sarva vikriya pratishedhartham, in order to negate all other vikriyas, he has just taken 2 vikriyas, that is the first one and the last one, only to negate all other vikriyas. Najayate mriyate va iti. Then vipaschit medhavi aviparilupta chaitanya swabhavat. So this is a very important statement. Aviparilupta chaitanya swabhavat. This chaitanya, Atma, he is very clearly mentioning. Atma is of chaitanya swabhavam. Chaitanya means consciousness or intelligence. So this is the nature of this Atma. And then what is this one? Aviparilupta swabhava. Aviparilupta means it does not get lost at any time. There is no question of its failure. So viparilupta, suppose you say, okay, I am forgetting this thing. Forgetting this thing, it does not mean that you are existing. Your intelligence, your consciousness is there. If you are forgetting something, you are remembering something else. Your mind, suppose you are forgetting something. But then in your mind, there are so many other things. There are so many other things that you have forgotten one thing and then you are remembering something else. So intelligence is never failing. Intelligence is always there. Without intelligence, the being cannot be there. It is the intelligence which is giving, say that nama, rupa, etc. And in that intelligence only all things are there. So this aviparilupta chaitanya, this is chaitanya is something which never fails. There is some Brahadaranyaka also says, nahi drashtu dushter viparilopaha. That viparilopa, that probably that word Shankaracharya is taking here. Viparilopa means at any point there is no failure, because that is the thing which is behind everything, and then there is no question of failure. That is the consciousness which is present everywhere. So aviparilupta chaitanya swabhava means this is something which is which never fails, which is always there. Kincha
Kincha
Nayam Atma.
Nayam Atma.
1 second.
Kutashchit.
Nayam Atma.
Nayam Atma.
Kutashchit.
Kutashchit.
Kutashchit Karanantarat Bahuva.
Kutashchit Karanantarat Babhuva.
Swasmacha
Swasmacha
Atmanaha
Atmanah
Na Babhuva Kaschit
Na Babhuva Kaschit
Arthantara Bhutaha.
Arthantara Bhutaha.
So as I was saying, Kincha, moreover, Na Ayam Atma Kutaschit Karanantarat Babhuva. There is no cause for the origination of this consciousness. So this is one important statement, because now even among even in Indian philosophy, and also if we see the modern science, scientists till recently they were saying that intelligence is something which is just a manifestation in the matter. So the human being, somehow this human being comes into existence from out of these five say elements which are there, and then this intelligence is something which is, it is just a phenomenon. It is something which is happening, just as a chemical reaction. Some chemical reaction you produce, you combine some 3 or 4 things and the substances, and then it produces a new substance with totally new properties. So something like that. This is something which is a product. Intelligence is something which is a product, which is something which is born. So that is what till recently scientists have been saying. That is what Charvakas also have been saying. Now of course scientists are also very seriously concerned about what is this consciousness. So, there is no final word so far. They are also trying to see, say from various angles. They are even the physicists, the people who are there studying this advanced physics and atoms and whatnot, they are also about the same thing. Those who are say the biologists who are studying all this say human cell and whatnot, so they are also say thinking about what exactly is this consciousness. And there are combined studies of these biologists and also the physicists. Then to see where exactly is this matter getting this intelligence from. So how is this intelligence? What exactly is it? Just a sort of epiphenomena, as they call it? Is it just a sort of epiphenomena in that matter, or is it primary? Which is primary? Is matter primary, or whether say intelligence is primary? So that is also the question now. So anyway, Vedanta says intelligence is primary. In fact, this question is being debated right from olden days. If you see, right from the Upanishadic times and right from the Buddhist times, Buddha and Upanishads, we do not know their comparative timeline. Whether Buddha obviously, according to the tradition, Buddha obviously he is a man of this tradition only, this Indian tradition only. And then obviously there was a lot of interaction. There was a lot of interaction among the Buddhists and also the Vedantins. So both in Buddhism and also in the Upanishadic philosophy, we see a great discussion on this intelligence. So our contention is that, the Vedantins' contention is that this intelligence is something which is not born at all. Which has no origination, which is always there. Which is not born at all means it does not mean that it doesn't exist. It is always existing. It has no origin. It has no end. So that is it. So na kutaschit karanantarat babhuva. It did not originate from any other karanam. It is not a karyam of any other karanam. It is not the effect of any other cause. Then swasmacha atmanaha na babhuva kaschit ardhantara bhutaha. And from this intelligence itself, he is not becoming anything else. There is no change in that. It is not becoming any other object. So that is what it says. It is not becoming. So whatever we see can only be called an appearance. It is not becoming. It is an appearance in that intelligence. Then ataha ayam atma ajaha Nityaha Shashvataha Apakshaya Vivarjitaha. Ataha. Therefore, Ayam Atma, this particular Atma is Ajaha. Ajaha, he explained. Ja means birth. Aja means that which does not, it is not originated from something, and it does not originate anything. Ajaha. Nityaha, something which is eternal. Then Shashvataha again I explained, that is something which is undecaying. Apakshaya Vivarjitaha. Shankaracharya is explaining Apakshaya. Apakshaya means decay. Apakshaya vivarjitaha is that which does not have any decay. Then yohi
Yohi
ashashvataha
ashashvatah
saha apakshiyate
saha apakshiyate
ayam tu shashvataha
ayam tu shashvatah
atayeva puranaha
atayeva puranah
purapi navayeva iti.
purapi navayeva iti.
So yohi ashashvataha saha apakshiyate. That which is ashashvata, that which is impermanent, is something which is apakshiyate, which is going to decay, which is going to decline. Then ayam tu atma, this particular atma on the other hand, it is shashvataha. This is something which is totally undecaying. Then that is why it is the atayeva, means therefore it is puranaha. Purana, this again is being explained, purapi navahayeva. Purapi, though it has always, it was there earlier, it is new and it is always there. That is beyond time. Yohi
Yohi
avayava upachayadvarena
avayava upachayadvarena
abhinirvartyate
abhinirvartyate
sa idanim
sa idanim
navaha yatha kumbhadihi.
navaha yatha kumbhadihi
Kumbhadihi. Okay, yohi, that which yaha means the yohi, that which avayavopachayadvarena, avayavanam upachayah, that which gets upachaya means collecting. Upachaya is gathering. You gather so many parts and then assemble into something. It is something which is an assemblage. Suppose you take so many parts and assemble into something new, that is avayava upachaya. Upachaya means gathering. Upachayadvarena abhinirvartyate, that which gets assembled, that which gets fabricated, that which say emerges by combining so many parts, that which comes out after you combine so many parts. So that is abhinirvartyate. It is in karmani prayoga, which means it gets fabricated. So it is like that, or it gets assembled, something like that. Abhinirvartyate, it gets assembled or gets fabricated. Sa idanim navaha yatha kumbhadihi, like a potter's pot. Pot is something which is an assemblage. You take a clay and then beat it for a long time and then you make it, and then all this thing, it becomes a clay, it becomes a pot. So like that which is fabricated or assembled by collecting so many parts, only that is subject to decay, but not something which is of the nature of intelligence. It is not like that. Of intelligence, there are no parts, there is no question of upachaya or apachaya, so it is like that. Then tad viparitastu atma
tad viparitastu atma
puranaha
puranah
vruddhi vivarjitaha ityarthaha.
vruddhi vivarjitaha ityarthaha.
So this atma is something which is vruddhi vivarjitaha. Vruddhi means is a growing in age. So that is vruddhi is actually growing in age. This is something where there is no question of growing in age, though it is purana. So there is no question of again growing in age. It is always nava. It is always new, it is always there, it is always fresh. There is no question of growing old about it. Then yata eva mataha na hanyate na himsyate hanyamane shastradhibihi sharire. So sharire hanyamane sati. So when the body is being attacked or assaulted, sharire hanyamane sati na hanyate na himsyate. It does not get hurt, it does not get affected. Na himsyate, it does not undergo that himsa. It does not get hurt. Na hanyate, na himsyate. Hanyamane shastradibhihi sharire. Because consciousness is something, or intelligence is something which is untouched. Only this deha is something which is undergoing that this himsa, which is getting hurt, but not the atma. The same thing is told in Gita also. The same thing is told in Gita, and there again we saw that these extreme examples like killing and all these things are given only to strongly put forth the point. This is an action. Killing is also an action. Beating is an action. Doing something, some small change is an action. So he is giving an extreme example of killing only to show, killing or attacking only to show, demonstrate or only to show that there is no change in it. Only to negate all types of changes, a sort of a strong example is being given. So it is surprising to see that not only in Gita, because somebody can misinterpret saying that this is Gita is something which is provoking violence, etc. But Upanishad is not provoking violence. Upanishad has nothing to do with Mahabharata war. Upanishad is not having anybody in front of him. Upanishad is having one Nachiketa who wants to know Brahmajnana. So Yamadharma Raja is teaching Nachiketa. So there is not, Nachiketa is certainly not going and fighting anybody. So this extreme example is, it is a way, probably in those days, it is a Upanishad way of saying. So probably the same thing has been told in Gita. So nahanyate hanyamane sharire tatsthaha api akashavadeva. So tatsthaha means tasmin sthaha, that is that which is dwelling in it. Are you seeing it? It is there. So tatsthaha means that which is located in that, dwelling in that. Tatsthaha means tasmin sthaha. What? Tasmin means in the sharira. It is dwelling in the sharira, and then in spite of that, tatsthaha api akashava deva. It is something like ghata akasha. Suppose you take a pot, and then the pot, there is a space. Even if you break the pot, space is not broken. Space is totally unaffected. Space is something which is usually compared to Atma, because this is something which is the closest parallel. Because space is something where there is no change. You take a sword and just wave the sword here and there, and then this space is not going to be cut. You explode a bomb, the space is not going to be exploded. Space is like that. So it is giving place to everything. That is why it is called space. Akasha is something avakasha pradatru akasha. Avakasha pradatru means that which gives say place to every other thing. That is akasha. So Atma is something, consciousness is something similar. And then from consciousness, the first appearance is this akasha only, isn't it? Tasmadvaye tasmadatmana akasha sambhutah. So akasha is the closest thing which can be compared to say Atma. So that is why usually in Vedanta, akashavat, space like awareness, people say. So akashavadeva, this akashavat, like a ghata akasha, matha akasha, it does not make any change to the real akasha. So that is it. Then next mantra. Hanta chen manyate hantum, hataschen manyate hatam, ubhautau na vijanito, nayam hanti na hanyate. So this thing also we saw in Gita. In Gita we saw that shloka, ya enam vetti hantaram yaschenam manyate hatam, ubhautau na vijanito nayam hanti na hanyate. The second line is common there and here. The first line there is a small change. There it says, what is that? Yayenam vetti hantaram yaschenam manyate hatam. But here it says, hantachen manyate hantum hataschen manyate hatam. Slight change. So here again we are seeing the same say action called hanta, hananam. Hananam is just killing or something like that. This is an extreme example, as I said. Basically to negate all actions. When this hanana kriya itself is not there, all other actions are automatically negated. So that is the point. So hanta chet manyate hantum. Hanta means any karta. Hanta means a killer. Actually hanta means a killer. Hantum manyate, he wants to kill it. Hantum manyate. Atmanam hantum manyate. Suppose he intends to kill, let us say. Manyate chet, or otherwise, hataha chet manyate hatam. If hataha, somebody who has been hurt, he feels, oh, I am hurt. Hataha hatam atmanam manyate chet. That is, if he thinks that Atma is something which is hurt, ubhau tau, both these fellows, or na vijanitaha. They are the people, they are ignorant. Na vijanitaha, they are not the people who know the truth. Na ayam hanti na hanyate. Na ayam Atma. This Atma or this Chaitanya or this consciousness or this intelligence is something which is neither hanti, it is neither hurting nor getting hurt. So somebody who is an attacker, one who thinks that he is attacking somebody, or the one person who is attacked, he thinks that he has been attacked, both are wrong, because this Chaitanya is something which is unhurt, which is something which is beyond all that. So that then what exactly is the Vyavahara Dasha? What is the reality of this Vyavahara Dasha? This Vyavahara Dasha is always at the level of Dharma, Dharmadi Lakshanaha, at the level of Ajnana only. That is what Shankaracharya is going to say. This is all in the realm of Ajnana, or within the orbit of Ajnana, this Dharma, Adharma, hurt, injury and all these things are there, but not at the absolute level. So that is what he is going to say at the end. So this shloka, this mantra, is it clear? It's a very simple mantra. It basically says there is no karma in that Atma, so that is why there is no karma phala. There is no karma, there is no karma phala, so that is why there is no question of getting hurt and whatnot. Getting hurt, etc. relate to the body-mind complex. Getting hurt or hurting somebody or getting hurt. This is karma and karma phala something. It is something related to the body-mind complex. So let us read the Bhashyam. Evam bhutamapi atmanam shariramaatratma drushtihi hanta ched yadi manyate chintayati hantum hanishyami yenam iti. Okay, he is talking about this first line. Hanta chen manyate hantum. So what does it mean? Evam bhutamapi atmanam. Evam bhutam atmanam. Atma which is of this type. What type is it? This is something which is asanga. It is something which is unattached with anything. It is the consciousness behind everything. So that type of Atma, taking that Atma, if somebody wants to attack, who is that somebody? Shariramatra Atma Drushtihi. Shariramatra Atma Drushtihi means, so one who feels that his Atman is his body. Dehatmavadi. Dehatmavadi, a Charvaka, a materialist, or a communist, let us say. A communist basically the materialist. They are the people who say intelligence is something which is born out of matter. So that is what they say. So Shariramatra Atma Drushtihi. Somebody who thinks that Shariram itself is the Atma, nothing beyond that. So that man, Shariramatra Atma Drushtihi, Hanta ched yadi manyate chintayati. If he thinks that he is the killer, Hanta iti chintayati chet. That is, if he thinks that he is the Hanta, he is the attacker, or he is the killer, Hantum hanishyami yenam iti. I will attack this. So in that manner, suppose he thinks. And the second line, Yopi anyaha hataha sopi chen manyate hatam atmanam hatoham iti. So that is the second fellow. Second fellow is Yopi anyaha. Anyaha means the other man. Hataha, one who has been hurt. Then sopi chet manyate. If he thinks, saha manyate chet. If he thinks that, thinks what? Hatam atmanam hataha ahamiti. Oh, this Atma is hurt. I am hurt. If he thinks like that, then ubhavapi tau na vijanitaha swam atmanam yataha nayam hanti avikriyatvad atmanaha tatha na hanyate akashavat avikriyatvad eva. Okay, so he says these two people, ubhau api, means both people, tau na vijanitaha. Both these people they do not know the truth. Then swam atmanam. So this, they do not know their own Atma. Swam atmanam na vijanitaha yataha na ayam hanti. This Atma is never hanti, it never attacks. Avikriyatvad atmanaha. In that Atma there is no vikara. In that Chaitanya or in that consciousness there is no vikara. Tatha na hanyate akashavad avikriyatvad eva. It is something like that space, and then like that space it is avikriya. Avikriyatvad means because of the nature of, because of the state of being that avikriya. So because it is in that state, it does not get hurt. Ataha anatmagnya vishaye eva dharma dharmadi lakshana samsaraha na brahmajnasya. So this is again an important statement, because all this dharma dharmadi lakshana samsara, what is the actual status of it? The whole status of it is, this is at the level of ajnana. Ataha anatmagnya vishaya eva. Anatmagnya means one who has not realized his Atman. This dharma, adharma, all these things, they are at the level of all this. Dharma, adharma means again good, evil, ethics, all this ethical conduct and whatnot. Dharma, adharma, adi lakshanaha samsaraha. Samsara moves on this dharma, adharma, adi lakshana only. We can't reject it. So long as you are in the vyavahara dasha, you have to follow dharma. Only when you are a jnani, then again you have reached such a stage by all this Shravana Manana Nidhyasana, by all this Shama Dhamma and all that, you have reached a stage where you will not perform any adharma. It is not as though it does not mean that a jnani can commit murders, etc. If a jnani commits murders, then obviously he is not a jnani because he thinks that that kartrutva is very much there in him. If he thinks, okay, I am doing this, I will kill this fellow, then obviously kartrutva is very much there. When kartrutva is there, he is not a jnani. He is very much in the vyavahara dasha. So jnani is one who has gone beyond that. And then he will, even if whatever action he does, it will be according to dharma only. It will not be according to adharma. Then what is the nature of this dharma, dharma, lakshanaha, samsaraha? So this, in society we have to follow this dharma and adharma. For example, suppose you do puja. You do puja and then that bhakti, that is at a vyavahara level. It is very much there. It should not be condemned or it should not be ridiculed. Puja has to be there. Ethical conduct, that is what is this dharma and adharma. This has to be there. And then when you grow from that, beyond that, when you grow beyond that only, then say for a Vedanti, he may do puja. As I was telling yesterday, that Madhusudana Saraswati, who is a great Vedantin, he still said, Vamshi Vibhushita Karat, Navaniradaabhat, Krishnat Param Tattvam na Jane, something like that he says. He says, though he was a great writer of that Advaita Siddhi and all that book, the whole, monumental work on this non-dualist philosophy, he still said, I am a great devotee of Krishna Bhakta. So he was still, loving Krishna. So with great love he was adoring, and then with great love he was doing puja of Krishna. So a jnani, he can do it. And that will be an example for all others. So but then in a vyavahara dasha, this puja is a duty. Then dharma, acharana is a duty. So all these things there, this dharma, adhilashanaha, samsaraha, it is there. But brahmagnya, for somebody who realizes brahmagnya, all this may be there, but then all this will be looking as unreal. All this he will be looking at it as unreal. He will not be directly involved in that because his ego is no longer there. His I feeling, that kartrutva, bhoktrutva, bhavana is not there in that. So that is the difference. Shruti pramanyat nyayacha dharma dharmadyanupapattehe So this dharma and adharma anupapattehe. So they don't apply. Anupapatti means it does not become applicable. It is not applicable. This dharma conduct or adharma conduct does not become applicable here. Anupapatti means the question does not arise here. What is it? Because why? That is Shruti Pramanyat Nyayacha. Because of this Shruti Pramana. Shruti is very much saying, and Nyayacha, even logically also, when this man has grown, when he has realized his self, then that the feeling of ego is itself not there. When that feeling of ego itself is not there, then he will not commit any adharmic deed. You will commit an adharmic deed so long as you feel that you have something to do you gain for this body-mind complex. So when that feeling of body-mind complex is not there at all, then you will certainly not do any adharmic act. You will not even hurt a small, any small thing for any reason. So that is it. Nyayacha and also Shruti Pramanyat. This dharma, adharmadi anupapattehe. In the case of a jnani, this dharma and this adharma, the question does not arise. Is it clear?
Yeah.
Okay. Katham punaha atmanam janati ityuchyate. So how then? Katham punaha means how then? Atmanam janati. Then how is it that you have to know? So in the last two mantras, he said, Najayate mriyate va kadachit. In that mantra, all change has been negated. Then hanta chet manyate hantum hatasyan manyate hatam. So all action is negated in that. There is no question of action, there is no question of change or anything. So this is the nature of that Atma. then what exactly is it and how is it to be known? And then what happens when you know? What is that Atma? How is it to be known? And what happens if you know that? And who is the man who will know? What type of man will know it? So that is being told in the next mantra. Let us read this mantra. Anoraniyan mahato mahiyan
Anoraniyan mahato mahiyan
Atmasya jantor nihito guhayam
Atmasya jantor nihito guhayam
Tamakratuh pashyati vitashokah
Tamakratuh pashyati vitashokah
Dhatu prasadan mahimanam atmanah.
Dhatuh prasadam mahimanam atmanah.
Okay, he says, now the question is, Anoho, as I was saying, Anoraniyan mahato mahiyan atmasya jantor nihito guha. The Atma is like this. He is again giving a small description. Then who will see it? Tam akratuhu pashyati. That akratu is the man who will see that. And under what conditions will he see? That is in the last line. So let us see this. Anoho aniyan. Anu we know. Anu is atom. That is something which is very, very subtle, something which is, very difficult to perceive, very difficult to understand. Anu here, we need not take the sense in the sense of atom. We should not say that Atma is something similar to atom or something like that. Atma is something which is very subtle. Anoho, because that is the meaning Shankaracharya also has taken. Anoho aniyan. Aniyan means atishayena anuhu. That is more subtle than this anu. It is subtler than the subtle. It is one of the most subtlest things of all. Or even if you take it is something which is something smaller, and even if you think even if you take that meaning as the smallest of small things also, it also holds. That meaning also holds. Because he is telling Mahato Mahiyan, Anoho Aniyan, Mahataha Mahiyan. Mahat means something which is great. Mahat is the English word might, might, is close to Mahat. Might, wherever that gh is there in English, this is ha sound in Sanskrit. Might, say like that, laghu, light, light, and bruhat, bright, ght, brahat, bright. So something, duhtar, the duhitru, daughter, dau, ghr becomes duhitru in Sanskrit. So something like that, this h. This is, Mahat is something which is mighty, something which is very, very great. What is that great? Or you imagine the greatest thing on earth. The whole world, let us say, not only this earth, but the whole universe and the whole cosmos, let us say. That the whole cosmos, what we call this Hiranyagarbha. That Hiranyagarbha itself is something which is that Mahat Tattva. In Sankhya, in Vedanta, again we see that Mahat is something which is used to refer to Hiranyagarbha. Of course, this Hiranyagarbha meaning is not taken here, but this Atma is something which is beyond that Hiranyagarbha. This Hiranyagarbha is something which is a manifestation in that Avyakta. First is that Brahman. In that Brahman there is this Avyakta, and then this Avyakta, from that Avyakta this Hiranyagarbha manifests. That Hiranyagarbha is something what all we see as cosmos, the cosmic subtle body as we call it. So Mahato Mahiyan, it is mightier than that mightiest Hiranyagarbha. This Atma is something which is subtler than the atom, smaller and the highest, and it includes all. Then what does it mean? So this is the consciousness which is the adhishtanam, which is the substratum, or which is the underlying substance for everything. Starting from this small thing to the biggest thing, this consciousness is something which is pervading the universe. That is what it means. So this because we are also going to see one mantra, Mahatah Param Avyaktam, Avyaktat Param Purushaha, Purushanna Kinchit, something like that. We are going to see one shloka in the next Valli, one mantra. Mahatah Param Avyaktam, like that. So this is something which is there in the Anu and smaller than Anu, and then it is there in the cosmos, and beyond the cosmos, beyond Hiranyagarbha. That is the consciousness principle which is underlying everything in the universe. Anoho aniyan mahataha mahiyan atmasya jantoho nihito guhayam. This Atma, then where is it located? That is the question. Atma asya jantoho. Jantu means anything that is born. Anything that is born, starting from an amoeba or something, if you can, I don't know whether smaller than that, with some bacteria, something starting from a bacteria, because bacteria also has some intelligence, because it knows how to defend itself, it knows how to survive. So all the bacteria also are intelligent. So like that, this jantoho, right from bacteria to that Hiranyagarbha, Atma asya jantoho nihitaha guhayam. Guha means buddhi guha. Guha in Vedanta, we always refer to that buddhi guha. Buddhi is compared to a cave. Why is it compared to a cave? Because it is under so many koshas. There is a pranamaya kosha, there is a pranamaya kosha, there is a manomaya kosha, then that vijnanamaya kosha is that buddhi guha, isn't it? Vijnanamaya kosha is referred to as buddhi guha. So this buddhi guha, where is it? It is, there is an outer gate, there is an inner gate, there is an innermost gate, and then in that innermost gate, this buddhi guha is there. The outer gate is this annamaya kosha. The inner gate is a pranamaya kosha. Then much more innermost gate is this manomaya kosha. And within that manomaya kosha is again this vijnanamaya kosha, this feeling of I. That is that vijnanamaya kosha, that is buddhi. That buddhi guhayam sthitam. This is the intelligence which is there in the antahkarana. We know that there is what is called antahkarana. Antahkarana avachinnam chaitanyam jivaha. So if the jiva identifies himself as this antahkarana, this body-mind complex, he will be called jiva. Then if he does not identify himself, and then if he realizes that he is nothing but that Shuddha Chaitanya, he is Ishvara. Antahkarana upahita chaitanyam Ishvara, Sakshi, that is it called. Antahkarana upahita chaitanyam Sakshi. And that Sakshi Chaitanya, or just witness Chaitanya, which is akartru, abhoktru. There is no activity in that, there is no pleasure or pain in that. So that thing is the same as the Supreme Brahman. So that is what we see in Vedanta, isn't it? So that is why Atma asya jantoho guhayam nihitaha. Nihitaha means it is well preserved in this. It is very much there. You need not find it anywhere else. So here again, there is a wonderful shloka by Akhandananda. I will repeat, I will tell that shloka. You have some time? Only 3 minutes. Okay, I will tell this shloka. You see, we go in search of, say, God. We go in search of God everywhere. We go to some Tirupati, we go to some Kashi, we go to Kedarnath, we go to all other places. Or Rameshwaram, we go to all other places. What is it? Which means, in our scheme of things, or in our understanding, God is there and God is not here. So God means, what is this God? This is this Chaitanya only. This Chaitanya, Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, Brahma, that Chaitanya. And then that Chaitanya only, it is there here in your own Buddhi Guha. So when it is in your own Buddhi Guha, you are going out and searching God in some particular location. So what does it mean? You are insulting one place and giving importance to another place. You are giving importance to one place and not giving importance to another place. That means you are insulting God when you go for yatra. So that is why the first line of the shloka says, Yatra vashat vyapakata hata te. Te vyapakata yatra vashat hata. The first line says, Yatra vashat vyapakata hata te. So you are somebody who is a vyapi, sarva vyapi. You are somebody who is there everywhere. And then by doing yatra, I am actually insulting you, indicating that you are not here, you are there only. Then second line says, Stotrena vachah parata hatate. And I am trying to praise you. I am trying to praise you like this ant which says that God is somebody who is like a 1,000-headed ant. So my imitation, my mind is only having this limitation. My mind is having such a limitation like that ant. I am also describing you with all my limitations. I am thinking about something and then I am saying, oh, this is supreme. So something, the Atma is something which is beyond, this Brahman is something which is beyond words. Yato vacho nivartante they say. So I am trying to describe something which is beyond words, and by doing that I am actually insulting you. Suppose you are a king and I say, okay, he has got 10 rupees in his pocket. Is it not insulting that king? So something like that. You are a king who own the king owning this whole kingdom, and then you are having say unlimited wealth. So such a man, I say, suppose you are having, oh, he is having some 10 rupees with him. Then I am actually showing my own ignorance. I am not praising you, I am only showing my own ignorance. So I am insulting you by doing that, damning with faint praise, as they say that. Then the third line says, Dhyanena chetah parata hatate. Dhyanena chetah parata. And this Atma is something which is beyond this mind also. Chetah parata. Chetas is mind. Chetah parata is being above the mind. So it is something which is beyond the mind. So by doing this, by doing dhyana on you, I am having some limited perception of, okay, this is Lord Shiva, this is Rama, this is Krishna, this is something. I am visualizing some limited, say form of yours. And then I am trying to do some dhyana. By doing all this, I am actually insulting you. So, Kshamasva Shambho, some aparadha, some shloka says, Kshamasva Shambho Trividha Paradha. Kshamasva Shambho Trividha Paradha, it says. The shloka is Yatravashad Vyapakata Hatate, Stotrena Vachah Parata Hatate, Dhyanena Chetah Parata Hatate, Kshamasva Shambho Trividha Paradha. So somebody else said, no, if you say like this, some people will not go for yatras. There is another version also for the last line. Instead of that, it also says, because of these three aparadhas, luckily, doshaihi sukrutavashat vashamagatate. That line is filled up in that manner. Doshaihi sukrutavashat. Luckily, we had all these faults. We did yatra, we also did dhyanam, we also did stotram. By doing these faults only, we have come closer to you. Doshaihi sukrutavashat padamagatate. You have come to your place. We have come closer to you. That is another version, which does not want to say insult those people who are doing yatra and then who are doing meditation. Otherwise, we will stop doing our meditation also. We will stop doing puja. We will stop doing meditation. So that is the thing. So we will see this mantra in the next class. The time is over. Time is over? Okay. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.